Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your very humble host, Mr. David Null, and I greet you with the love and the honor and the dignity and the respect that you deserve from the infinite creator, from the source of all things in the universe. I pray that you have blessings and that for all the ills that may come in your way, that you will receive the blessings and the healings from the universe, and that you will receive the wisdom in order to confront whatever may be happening to you. So, with that, let me start here. Now, I got to say, blessings to all of you, always, always. Um, I'm got to start the story from the beginning, and I don't really want it to be long, but there are certain things I need to discuss as a shaman, along with the shaman series that I've been doing, because it leads up to the vision thingy that happened to me just Friday morning, actually. Um, so this is Monday, so it's just been a couple of days ago. But I went to the river with a friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time, and I've been building up to, I just need to go to the river, spend the night on the bank, take my kayak, go get my feet wet, and for whatever reason, I keep making up excuses. Well, the weather's been kind of iffy and nasty and things. And when I feel good, it's like crappy outside and not the time to go wanting to go camping because it's raining or whatever, or really cold. Good evening to you, Michelle. And so I went with the intent. I took my drum and I took just very basic essentials for a ceremony because I've been to this special place on the Flint River many, 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 many times over the years. I've lived here 45 years now in South Georgia, and I've been going to over to the Flint for at least 35 years. So anyway, but to the point, I don't know, probably 20 years ago now, I found out that there were spirit beings there, there were orbs, and on my Facebook page, especially, which is just David Null on Facebook, and my mugly ug, um, but that I've taken pictures there, and as late as, well, it's been about a year ago. It was before the hurricane, because I was very surprised at what the terrain looked like and how many trees were down and how many houses, buildings, barns, and things that had been destroyed or damaged during the hurricane last year. And it just astounding what that hurricane did. And there's still some places that are still recovering way out in the country where not a lot of people go. There's still a lot of trees on the side of the road, but they were just cut off just enough. I mean, it's unbelievable. So anyway, but I went over to this place with my drum because I'd been there before. I've taken my flute, I've been there with my drum, and I forgot my flute this time, which is like, duh. But anyway, the drum was just exactly what was needed. And so I went over there with the intention of communicating with the spirits. I went over there with the intention because in previous pictures that I've taken of the orbs there are some really nasty looking beings that are hanging around in that area. Now, not all of them are nasty beings, but there are some really nasty beings in that area. And all I can think of, and from what I've learned over the years, this place on the Flint, it was a crossing. It's been there for a long time, and they've turned it into it's simply a boat ramp that goes down to the water. And then there's high banks, and up on the high bank on the one side is where you can set up a camp. And they've been even nice enough to put a porta john out there and a garbage can. And so, I take wood to build a fire. I always make sure everything's all cleaned up and everything. I always bring my garbage back. But to the point, though, I knew that this was going to be a spiritual journey when I took it. And so we left on Thursday and spent the night Thursday night and Friday, and then came home Friday afternoon late. So, but just to give you, this was just the other day. So I've been mulling over this, what's happened for the last few days, trying to figure out how am I going to describe this. And they're telling me today, talk about it. And maybe by talking about it, it will help you to bring this out. So here we go. Thank you. So I get there on Thursday afternoon, and we set up camp and everything. And I take I go down to the river with my truck and my kayak. And the first thing that I do is I say a little prayer because I haven't been to the river in a while. And as my um, Chinese calendar makes me, I am a water dragon. So I've always been attracted to water. You know, I live on a swamp. You know, so there's a lot of water there, and so it's very important for me as a shaman, as it should be with many shamans, to be around running water. So the fact that my creek doesn't run like it used to, I'm like I miss that. And there's a lot to be said that is mystical and healing and energetic about flowing water, the type of water where you're at, the terrain, all these kinds of things. And so I absolutely went with the intent to at least sit with the spirits, at least just enjoy the river. I had no expectations, but I did have a purpose. My intent was to drum for peace between the beings that I have taken pictures of. And so there are these really red, nasty looking red orbs that it's like when I look at them, I can't look at them on the pictures that I've taken. And I'm going to figure out how to share the screen so I can actually say, here's a picture I took. This is the date, and see, this is the one I'm talking about. Right now, I can't do that with this little thing. Chrome upgraded itself, YouTube changed something, and I can't figure out how to share my screen at the moment. So I have to just speak about this, but I do have pictures that I took. No video because I was short on um, memory, and it eats the battery up real quick. Also, I can't take pictures of the beings with the video; they don't show up right. So, but it's better with when I tinker with the flash, and when I tinker with the flash and also the shutter speed, so that I can get a better good picture of these orbs and other beings that have showed up for some. I mean, for at least 20 years, I've been taking pictures down here at this spot. So when I got Thursday afternoon late, the sun's starting to go down, and I'm putting my kayak in the river, and it's really up and it's really flowing. And I'm like, wow, you know, I'm not going to go out there crossing around in this thing because it's been a year since I've been in the kayak. Not that I'm afraid, but you know, I wanted to get my skills back, if you will, stay in the out of the mainstream till I got my balance back and everything. You know, make sure I'm good to paddle, right? Versus being out on a lake or something, you know, slow flowing. This is really going. So I stand out about knee deep in the water and I say my prayers and I say, just thank you to the creator. And I'm facing due west, by the way. And so the sun's going down and I'm watching this and it's really nice. You know, the temperature's like 75 degrees, maybe. Water's really cold. My toes froze up and other parts of me. But then I just ask creator, you know, thank you for allowing me to be here. Thank you for allowing me to say a prayer. Thank you for allowing me to be here so that I could drum later on. So as the sun was going down, I got on the kayak, went upriver a little ways, about 3/4 of a mile, and was tired because I haven't paddled in a while, and the current's really strong. So I reached a spot, turned around, and took a few pictures. Rested for a few minutes, and back out into the current, and then came. Only it took me 20 minutes to go upstream. Well, actually 30, but it took me like maybe 10 minutes to come back down that same area. That without paddling. That's how fast the river's flowing right now. So I got used to it, and it was great to be on the water, and that energy from the river just started to ignite in me, if you will. And I was very pleased. Thanked the river, took a couple of pictures, and went back to the shore and went back up to camp. Now, when I got back to the shore, the sun had already gone down. And so, as I'm changing my clothes there, there's no one else around. My friend's up on the hill, and so I'm down there by the water by myself. And as I'm changing clothes, I went ahead and got my drum out and just said a very slow prayer. And it's basically that I was drumming for the peace upon the land, that I was drumming and sending, as I was standing, I don't know, calf deep in the water, I was sending energy and the drum into the river for peace upon the earth, and that my drum and one of my purposes were for the beings around that area, and that I wanted to bring peace between those spirits as well because of all the high energy frequencies and all the changes. And this is a promise that I have made over the many years that I have gone to this place. And I told the spirits, I said, the next time I come, I will bring my drum and I will drum for you. I will drum for peace. I will drum for harmony. So this is a very long story and a history for me of going to this place to begin with. Without expectations, I knew my intent, and I knew my intent was to go and drum for peace for what I just said. And but also, to try to get as much good energy, recharge myself, and see what the future brings, because being around a river and that high energy flow, especially if you tune in, can be very electrifying in many ways. And so everything was fine. And I did my drama, maybe 10 minutes worth. And it was just a very simple prayer. I drum for peace. I drum for the earth. I drum for Mother Earth. I drum for the earth and the mothers. I drum for the spirits to be at peace. I drum, and this was with just a steady, simple drum. So then, and now been pretty tired because this has been more activity than I've done in a while, especially in the kayak. Now I loved it, but I tired out quick. But it's been about 2.5 hours all told. Sun's down. It's dark now. Moon's up, but we've got a lot of clouds. So I get back in my truck, and it's just a little jump back up to the top of the bank. And I sit with my friend for a while, and we build a fire and sit and talk and just allow the spirits to come in. So she went to bed fairly early, and I decided I just couldn't sleep. I was so energized by being there, I guess by being on the water, by doing the drum. So I didn't want to wake my friend, and there was nobody else there. So I got the drum and went down. They're really steep sides down to the boat ramp in. I mean, it's like 20 foot. This not just a little, you know, we're not just a little bit above the water. We're like 20, 25 feet above the water. Okay. These are some really high banks. And so I'm sitting up there on the bank, and I decided to go down the bank some. And I found some old steps that are there. There must have been poured years ago. It used to be a sure enough park with some picnic benches and so forth. And the drunks and weirdos go out there sometime and wreck the place. But anyway, I like to go out there and pray for the spirits that are there and for the energy. Boy, that was a weird flash. Got some strange energy going on. There's nothing between me and there to be making that flash, by the way. Just to let you know. But the energy of the place energized me. So I went down the hill, and I sat with my drum, and I did a simple tobacco ceremony where I basically was smoking a cigarette, but not. I mean, I gave peace to the north, south, east, and west. I gave, honor to the spirits that were there. And because I had done the drum at the water before, I was asking the spirits to please allow me to be there and to drum. And then this is later on up on the hill, just over the place where I was standing down in the water. So I'm there, and I could just hear. I got ringing in my ears, and that's a lot of because of the Schumann resonance, cosmic energies, old age, a lot of stuff. But there was a tone, a frequency, a some kind of different energy that's different from my normal ringing in my ears. So all I did was just focus on that tone, if you will. There was something just right there. Wow, that's interesting. Um, I don't know if you saw that or not, but it looked like there's somebody here in the room. But anyway, I've called upon the spirits to be at peace. So rather than like be very loud with the drumming, if you will, it's been very soft and very um, melodic. Okay. In that I keep a simple pace, not very loud. And the repetition is peace to the earth, and earth bring peace. I bring peace to the earth, and may earth have peace. So I repeated that for a while, along with once in a while a sentence would come to me, and I would say to the beings upon the planet, I wish peace. I wish peace upon the earth, and may the earth have peace. And then I'd drum, and so that was the prayer. And so, but every once in a while, another thought would come in. May the people, that are on this channel, may they find peace in their families. And then I would go on and may peace be upon the earth, and may earth have peace upon her. May the beings on the earth have peace with the earth, and so forth. And so this went on for a while. There, when I go into those, and it's not really a trance per se, but the drumming, if you just tune out everything, and all I could feel at the time was the vibration of the area, is the best way I can explain it. And it came across as a sort of a tone, not loud, not but I guess it's because I've listened for so many years, um, to nature, and in my shaman travels and learnings and practices, I'm now able to discern these different things. And is it a different reality? Well, I just feel like there's a different tone over there. I mean, the makeup of the ground is there's a lot of limestone there. There are caves underneath. There's a lot of rock. Flint. It's the Flint River, and it's known because it has flint in it. And so, there's a high energy there with all this flint and a river flowing over it and so forth. So energetically, it is a high energy place simply because of where it is. And the fact that there's not many houses around. I mean, it's the only boat ramp. There is 20 miles north, 25 miles south. It's the only boat ramp. There are no other crossings, no other bridges, and it's out in the middle of nowhere. It's literally on two counties, it's on the line. And so, talk about being peaceable. But anyway, but it's also been there for a long time. And these ancient spirits are the ones that I've been going there for, along with the river. So, anyway, after I go and do this drumming, and it was very peaceful, and I was like, wow, I just was as tired as I was. I'd been up for quite a while. And for me, having this weird sleep pattern that I've been used to, I'm out in the middle of kind of sort of nowhere. There's a few neighbors down the river, but not really. They're 20 20 houses, maybe in a half a mile. Not really crowded, a lot of farmland. But anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm contemplating all of the above. And is there anything that you all can share with me? So that was sort of as I'm doing my peace drum, my thought is that, you know, if there's anything that you wish to share, or if anything that I can pick up, or, whatever it is that might be there at the time, or might be available to impart that upon me, if it was, if it was correct. So I kind of asked for what I got in a way, but it wasn't like that's what I was praying for. My full intent was all about the peace, the beings, the planet, us, and everything, right? It was just like a 1 or 2%. If there's anything there you wish to share, I'm here, and seem to be open because of the drum and the ceremony and so forth. Next part. I don't know, a couple hours went by, and I'm sitting there watching the stars. I'm watching where Orion is. I'm watching all the positions and going, man, there really is something wrong with where the North Star is, where the Big Dipper is, where the two bottom stars of the Big Dipper used to always point at the North Star. It doesn't point there anymore. It points to the star up above it in the tail of the handle of the Little Dipper. Some strange things, but so I'm looking, watching. There's all kinds of these weird flashes that are happening, and I'm watching them across the sky, and I'm going, okay, don't know what that is, but it's really groovy. Now, the tents that we set up are teepee type, and they're made by I got them at Walmart. Not a plug for Walmart, but I might be Ozark Trail. I can't remember at the moment, but one of the brands that Walmart holds, and they're teepee tents. I mean, they look just like a teepee, um, except well, yeah, they do, and they're much easier to set up. And I've set up quite a few teepees in my lodges, if you will, as many of the most Native Americans call them lodges, not a teepee. Only white people do that, but anyways, I've set up many lodges, and these are really nice. And so I'd set it up in the yard. I did a video, I don't know, probably going on 2 years ago now, where I was showing it off and I put it up in the yard. Anyway, setting it up there on the bank, and I don't know, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, best I can guess. I'm not looking at a watch. I don't care. I'm on Indian time. It's nighttime. I don't, looking at a watch is like going to break the spell, if you will, in my opinion. Because once I did the prayers, once I went down the hill and did the drumming, there was okay, there was a spiritualness that came upon me. And it was simply that it was like the energies around me accepted me being there. It didn't make me like feel high or anything, although I did. It did make me high in the respect that the energies of the river are so charged there, that I could, I was picking that up, and and I'm stumbling because I'm trying to find out how to get into this. Okay, so was going to light the cigarette earlier, and I was like, no, but now I need to take a little smoke, offer up a prayer, so I can finish this story. So I go inside the teepee tent, and because of it's important because the way the sides are, the windows go up like this and then back down. So I'm laying on my cot looking up in between these two windows, and there is nothing to just block my view of the sky, except we're camped under this really, really old, probably over 250-year-old um, oak tree, and it's a live oak, and moss hanging down. I mean, it's the epitome. I grew up in around Tampa, and moss is hanging from everything. But up here in South Georgia, it gets a lot colder, so moss hanging from trees is not as common. But anyway, to the point though, these trees have been there for a long time, and just the story of the trees is important. So I'm laying up at the sky looking through the branches of this thing and watching the moss sway, and the moon's already gone down and the sun hasn't come up, so it's dark. There are no lights around. And I'm looking up and I'm like, I can see something other than the moss moving, or the limbs of the tree. So as I'm thinking to myself, okay, am I hallucinating? Or am I seeing the orbs, sort of what I usually take pictures of, which I did. I have to kind of sort of get them off the camera still and put them on the computer. I want to share them with you. But at the same time, I'm thinking, no, just this isn't the time to do that. Just keep your eyes open, if you're so inclined, and just watch. Let it come. Which, if you're into any kind of, I wasn't expecting a dream, vision, nothing. I was just looking up at the sky and enjoying the time and the energy. And then things started to morph. And I was like, okay, nothing like now. As most of you know, I've tripped over 500 times in my life, and that's not a lie. And I'm not trying to, it's probably more than that, but literally used to take a hit of acid a day for weeks on end. So, my idea of what tripping is. So, there are a lot of times when I have to ask myself the question, are you having a flashback? And the answer is, that ain't nothing I ever seen in no flashback. There is no feeling of flashing back, or I've had times where it's almost like a little bit of a panic attack. And then you'll see some weird things, and it's like, okay, that felt like a little bit of a relapse or a something, it lasts for a few minutes and boom, it's gone. And whoa, that was weird. Woo, okay. But this, not at all like any of that at all. It literally watching the limbs from underneath, and the only light is starlight, and that in the atmosphere. Now there's light bouncing off the clouds, but we're so far out in the country, it's not a lot of light. And it was that time of the morning before dawn that it was dark. So I'm watching up there at the through the thing, and what I thought were beings changed into this picture, and it looked like I was looking down upon a city from a helicopter. That I was looking down on these buildings, square, some rectangle, and it wasn't a specific city, but there were, I would say, maybe 30 stories, 20, 30-story buildings, maybe. No, nothing real tall. But looking down at them, as I was looking up, and I'm thinking, now that's plumb weird. But then I got a whisper in my ear, to just pay attention. Don't try to, just hold still, keep your eyes open. Don't try to question, just watch. So I was like, yes, sir, or ma'am, or whoever the case may be. So this morphed into these rooftops. Now, one of the things I've seen the rooftops. I've lived in Tampa and I've been in the high rises and seen, I've been in other cities. I've been to Seattle and up in the Space Needle, and you see the town below. So I've been in, and I've been in helicopters and airplanes. So I've seen things from the air myself. So I'm thinking to myself, does this relate in any way? And the answer was no. And they were like, shut up, look, just watch. But I had to question, am I seeing something that I've seen before, from being in buildings or whatever? And the answer was absolutely not, because as I'm looking at the ceiling, it starts to I say the ceilings, the rooftops. As I'm watching the rooftops, the whole thing starts to morph like this. Now I'm still in the same position, but the buildings, the whole thing, and it turns out to be the city, the whole city starts changing direction. It's almost like I'm in a. Now, I used to do 3D AutoCAD work for a tier one automotive company that made spark plug wires and so forth. I've worked with Ford and Chrysler and 3D, and with some serious computers behind me. So really high end stuff. So anyway, in that respect, it was like I was changing view. I was looking at the top view, and somehow the computer in my image I was changing the camera angle. So now I see these buildings as they are, as it's rotated. And I notice it's something like you would see. The word that comes to mind is a stark reality. In other words, there's been some movies out there, and one of them was made by Charlie Chaplin way back in the day when Hitler and everything was around. And I can't remember the name of it, but he actually did a speech, and it was one of the few that he ever spoke in. But it was against Nazism and Hitler and all that kind of thing. But anyway, the buildings, there's a building in New York City that's like doesn't have any windows or anything. That's the kind of buildings these look like. Now, one of the things that I thought as I was watching is it was like this really stark, not a lot of windows, but they weren't scary looking. I mean, there's some of the movies sort of like in if you've ever watched Gotham, some of the scenes in there, some they're like woo. No, the architecture was very plain, but it didn't have this feeling of like, oh my God, but it was very strange in that I didn't see many windows. That's what struck me. And as an architect and an engineer, I was like, where are the windows? They were there, but not a lot. Okay. So as this thing morphed down like this, and I could see it, I'm not moving, but the city is. So my point of view, I don't have the feeling of motion, but I have the feeling of what I'm watching is moving. So the whole city's moving past me. And I'm like, well, that was weird. And not really fast, but I'm like blue. And it wasn't jumpy. It wasn't like it was a picture, a picture, a picture. Very fluid, very modest. I'm like about this fast across my vision. Now I blinked because I had my eyes open for without blinking for a while, and my eyes felt dry, and I blinked probably twice. I'm still staring up at the same place, still in the same bed, still in I blinked twice, and the picture changed. From now, I'm looking at the best way I can say it would be like a pueblo. It could be southwest style arches. It could be someplace, I don't know, in Africa with huts. But and I've thought about this myself, I must admit, because I've used local materials. I mean, in my concrete, in my floor that I'm my feet are on, I made with some of the dirt I mixed in with the concrete because I wanted this dirt and this and that concrete to be the same. Okay, I'm creepy that way. I wanted my Mother Earth, not somebody else's here. So I used Portland cement with my dirt to make the floor. So, because why not? Why should I bring in dirt? I live on 18 acres of it. Come on, and I had to dig a footer. So why not mix it in? But anyway, but to the point though, as an architect and as a free thinker for many years, I think man have just made the wrong choices for buildings, and that rounded huts and things, and not necessarily domes, but kind of sorta, and especially with the weather nowadays. I mean, I got a 2-story house, and I'm seriously wishing I had made other decisions, because it's hard for me to get up and down the stairs at my age. And okay, but to the point though, I love sitting upstairs and looking out in the woods and looking out across the field, and that gives me pleasure in itself. But as far as storms and things and stuff like that, but anyway, to back to the vision dream thing, what I came upon was that here, and it was like lovely, and I was sort of seeing it from the top, if you will, sort of like seeing the top of the skyscraper thingies. And again, they weren't menacing. It wasn't dirty. It was just different. Very a lot less window. Yeah, a lot less glass, a lot less windows, and in a way, maybe more practical. Just say it. So, but anyway, so now the vision has changed to the tops of these huts, which don't have far to rotate. And now I'm standing like almost in a field looking at these things, and I'm looking, and there seem to be beings there. This is one of the weird things it's taken me 4 days to try to figure out. The beings were transparent to me. Now, how could I see them? Because I knew there were beings there. But even though as I was looking at it, I was like, but I don't see them. But a whisper in my ear said, but they're there. And I was like, keep watching, And so that as it morphed, what came with it was a feeling of the number 23 was like exploded in my eyes. It was there, even though I could still see this Pueblo thing. And rather than going by it, it was more like I was rotating around it. My viewpoint was just, but it was very real. Now I've got my eyes open. Now my friend is just fixing to get up. I haven't said a word, uttered anything. She's getting ready to go pee. And her tent's like this far from mine. And so, which kind of pulled me out of what was going on, because then there was this other noise and I was distracted, and that ended that. And so over the last 4 days, I've been asking clarification. What does this mean? Why the 23? What's up with 23? And I kind of got at the same, almost right away, that the 23 was the year 2023. That's what's coming up. There's been a lot of other signs about the 23. And some of them good, some of them bad. But here's the thing that was curious to me, in that this is my long-term trip as a shaman. This is not the first, my first rodeo was seeing things and then trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And the feeling that came over me was that this is the 1,000 years of peace, because the whole point of me being there was to pray for peace, was for to bring peace upon Mother Earth and all of those on Mother Earth. So the whole intent of that was clear, you know. Oh, and by the way, it's 33 miles exactly to where my house to the river. Now I thought it was 35, but I checked it again and it was 33 miles exactly, and I was like, that's creepy. Just all the years I've been here, 33. So, but then that just added a weirdness to it, just to, okay. But in the realm of what does this mean, what I saw was they were showing me that there's going to be a transition. Now, not that it was going to happen by 2023, but the beginning of this transformation, transition, whatever, was going to be well on its way in 2023. And so, in the last several days, I'm like, okay, what do you want me to say about this vision? What is it that because they've been kicking my butt to talk about this, and I've been reluctant because I'm going to talk about something that's really freaking out there. And that, and I do want you to believe that I actually did see this. Now, as to what it means, I'm very skeptical, and I'm still trying to understand this. But in my shaman's journey, it fits in with stuff that I was told 55 years ago about that I was going to be a part of the end, which was the transition to the new beginning, which is going to be that we're not going to have power lines everywhere. Things are going to change more to the simple. And not that we have to give up technology, but that certain technology we've gotten so used to that's really useless. For example, there are power lines that go across my property to my neighbors and dead end. There's electricity there all the time. There's nobody there. It's the end of the line. But the electricity's always there to a dead end. It's always there. And there's always something pushing energy to those lines so that there can be. Now, I'm proud that I have it at my house, but to the point, though, there is energy literally going to dead ends. Somebody moved a trailer, they turned the power off. The lines are still hot out to the, down the road or whatever. But the thing is that there's energy literally just shooting off into space that we don't see. So what if that energy wasn't discharged around us? I mean, they moved the power lines in my upstairs bedroom. The power line now is right over the edge of my corner of my bedroom upstairs. I'm like this far away from the damn power line. I didn't plan that when I built the house. The power line was on the other end of the house. They moved it and created a situation. And I'm arguing with the EMC, move the damn power line. There's another pole, I don't care. Move it off my bedroom. To the point, back to the vision thing. 55 years ago, I was told that this was going to be part of my journey, that I would be speaking about this, that I would be shown things, okie dokie. Now they give me this eyes wide open picture. And I say eyes wide open because as soon as my friend, who's this far away from me, tent wise, flips on her flashlight, which shines straight over my head to where now I can see the tree lit up and I can see the moss hanging down. And so I asked her, I said, were you looking up at the sky? Yeah. So my eyes are open and I'm conscious. And she's asking me, what the hell's going on, Dave? And I'm like, were you looking up? Well, yeah. And you turned your light on? Yeah. Did you see through the tent? Yeah. Did you see a city in the sky that did? What the hell are you? Never mind. But I had my eyes open because when the light came on, I didn't open my eyes. My eyes were already open. So whatever was going on was I didn't see the tree limbs. I didn't see the screen in the tent, which was this far from my face. And but I saw these other things, and the more, and I'm still trying to figure it out. But they told me I need to have this conversation with y'all. But in my long-term relationship with the spirit and with my journey, it tells me that by 2023 things are going to be not destroyed, but that opinions are going to change. Now I think about how many homes have been destroyed through hurricanes, tornadoes recently. I mean, I was just describing some of the damage that I went through to get to the river because of the hurricane last season here in South Georgia. And the eye was even further west over Alabama. So, but to the point though with this, what if now it's known that dome shapes can withstand huge amounts of energy waves, rain, sleet, snow. It's hard; they're hard to pick up, especially if they're made out of concrete. And so there are some really interesting and cool um, earth type homes, if you will, that people need to understand that building with sticks doesn't make sense anymore. I mean, what did the Egyptians build with? Stone. Why aren't some civilizations seen? Well, the Native Americans, they built their homes, their lodges, their houses, their teepees, whatever, and all the different tribes have slightly different cultural thing about it. How many poles to use, how tall, which way to point it, there are a lot of different things. They're all effective, but to the point though, there's a lot of information in that. Everybody has a different point of view, but the bottom line was that Native Americans never wanted to leave a scar on Mother Earth, and so they used materials. Now, in some instances, they moved rocks and did things. There is a serpent mound that I don't think has much to do with Native Americans, much at all, other than other types of beings, but like as in giants, for example. But that so we don't know what people built with because their purpose was to build something that wouldn't last. It would last their lifetime, but it wasn't going to leave a scar upon the earth. Now I built with concrete, and I mean I've 8-inch block filled with solid concrete and rebar and so forth, because I expected to burn dirt up against my house. But my house today, it was 70 something degrees and it was still 62 in the house. Now, it was cloudy, and had I got some sunlight, it would have warmed up because it's a solar home. My point to this, though, and it's been around for a long time, people need to change their idea of what a structure is and why. If we're going to live on top of this planet, that for the next few years is going to be kind of weird. It's got to settle down. There's a lot of stuff going on, but let's be bright about this. If you build a building with a lot of windows, now they got some really good glass now, but that's not the point. It's gonna break. So what if the cities of the future, it's not that they're architecturally ugly, it's that they're more practical. There are windows, but they're not buildings of windows, which makes a whole lot more sense to me. I was like, ooh, let's make the thing out of glass. But, so in being that, so in this being a transition of seeing it from the rooftops, which there weren't a lot of air conditioning units, there wasn't all the crap and I've been on tops of buildings before in small towns, big towns, for working on air conditioners and things and so forth. Anyway, and roof repair. So, and as I look down, I'm going, it's really clean. And so when the blink, and it morphed into the round uh, Pueblo type style, but it was really neat. I mean, there was interesting architecture, but it was more of a rounded shape. It was more flowing, and so that any air currents that went through would just blow right over this. There's no way that something could just knock it over. mainly because it's so heavy. Not that it couldn't be knocked over, but to the point, it makes a whole lot more sense. Now, you've seen some of these sci-fi movies and so forth, where I mean, it goes back to the first Star Wars movie with when you know. Luke Skywalker's on Tatooine or whatever that desert planet he was on, right? They, everything's domed. Duh. It really makes sense. I mean, the things that they want to send to Mars and to the moon for these structures, guess what? Dome shape. Because just the shape of it is, you know, if something comes in and it'll glance off of it. And structurally, it's just like a lot better. And the geodesic dome way back in the day, they were difficult to build and put together. But the thing is that some of them that I saw and actually went in one, I was very impressed. But they were like, I don't know, it weren't too much into the design of these things. But to the point of this matter, in that our thinking must change. If we're to go into the future with this, then some of the stuff that we're doing is just dumb. We live on top of a planet. Why go higher into the sky? That's just, and I hate to say this, but this is just a bunch of men with a penile thing who can make it taller. No, why? That's just stupid. And it's also, in a lot of ways, um energetically not necessarily good for the planet, but there are a lot of different things. But in the long run, it just is dumb the way they're doing some things. But who it's all, and listen, I've worked with architects. I wanted to be an architect and ended up being a machinist and a draftsman. But drawing is drawing, and I've been watching some of the things that have been built over the years. Now, for example, I can't think of his name now, but he built that house over a creek, and Falling Waters, I think, was the name of it. Buffered for a sec. Glad I'm back. Thank you. Wow. Blink, blink. Hi, Michelle. Thank you again. And Breaking Dawn. But anyway, oh, Frank Lloyd Wright is his name, and I've got books about Frank Lloyd Wright. I studied him. In fact, my upstairs is partially due to Frank Lloyd Wright. And if he was in my yard, I'd slap him for being stupid and convincing me that that was like the thing to do. But he was a minimalist, and oh, look how pretty this is. But in the long run, what he built didn't sustain. Now my building's been here for the last 30 some odd years, 35 years. I've had, anyway, it survived. Two tornadoes went over the top of it, and very minimal damage. Um, and this guy built these things, falling water, this and that. But then the people who bought them had to sink more money than the house was worth to fix it so they could live in it. And I'm like, so there was all this about, oh, well, isn't he inventive? Yeah, he was inventive, but it was stupid. And so one of the Frank Lloyd Wright things was, you know, you can put windows in corners. Well, I've done that in a couple places here in the house, and then it's just stupid. You can't hang anything. There's certain parts of that that just don't make sense. And I love windows and I love this and that, but then I ended up having to go back in and change some of these because it wasn't practical. And I was like, and then I, you know, and I looked at some, and you know, I was still going to school at that time. Um, and I was looking at some of the Frank Lloyd Wright stuff in architecture, and I'm going, this really doesn't work in real life. If you want a room and you do it like this and I follow the procedure, the only thing you can put in it is one chair and maybe an ottoman, and you can't put it this way or that way. It's only going to go in one place. But Frank Lloyd was like, but that's the everything should have its place. And it's like, yeah, but it's not really functional. If I move the chair over here, I can't open or close the door. If I do this over here, then I can't, you know. And it's like, functionality wise, he was an idiot. But anyway, I've learned that after the fact. But so the people, you know, there are not too many people who are like bragging about Frank Lloyd Wright after all of his long term projects had to have millions of dollars poured back into them because they weren't sustainable. Just saying. Now, but there are huts in Mexico that are through and three at 400 years old that are 8 feet thick, made from local materials that are still standing after earthquake and earthquake, and they're still there. They're great um as far as fending off the high winds, bad weather, so forth like that. And because of the thickness of the walls, they don't, a lot of places don't need air conditioning. Now this is from people that I know who live in Mexico, okay, and they're like, no, my house, we use a ceiling fan, but in the daytime we close the windows because it's so cool in the house, like a cave. And I'm like, what? Oh yeah, our walls are like 10. Some houses are like almost 2 foot thick, but they're all made of local materials, and everything's done with arches and done with this, and and it's like, but wait a minute, and but we Americans, oh, we're going to build things out of sticks. We're going to make things with sharp corners so a breeze will rip off a roof or something. So anyway, I got off onto architecture, but it's important because of what the vision symbolizes to me. Is not that we are going to go back to a simpler life, not to the Stone Age, but it's going to be simpler because we're not going to have all these other things to deal with. The housing will be simpler, but more ergonomic to the planet, if you will. And that there are enough houses that have been knocked over by hurricanes, tornadoes, and now floods in the Midwest. I mean, oh my God. And if these people go back and build there again without going 4 foot up off the ground, they're plain dumb. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you think this is the last time, think again. You know, um, just saying. Now down here in South Georgia on my place, I keep thinking, wow, I don't know if I picked the right place. Then I look at folks down south and over here and over there, and I go, I think this spirit told me to stick it out here, that I was actually in the best place I could be. And as I'm looking around the planet going, actually, I guess spirit was right. Hang out here and make do with what I got. It's already paid for. Why go searching for something else? Why go, well, I love the mountains. Yeah, but, you know, all the mountains and all the places where I've been up in the Carolinas, they're all having earthquakes up there. And I mean regular. Now, why would I, if I'd had moved up there like my intention was years ago, and I was up there now going, holy crap, I sold my place in South Georgia to move to a place that are earthquakes now. Wait a minute, what was I thinking? And now I'm looking back and going, maybe that wasn't such a bad decision to stick it out here. I can always take a ride. I can always go and bum a ride, take a bus, whatever. And now that I look around the planet, I think, well, I made that choice, but I listened to my heart. I listened to the spirit. I listened to my visions back then that I was going to be on this planet here. Now, at the same time, trying to tie this, and it was a vision. I mean, I don't know. I still don't know what it means. My interpretation, though, from all of my years, is that if we're going to continue to live on top of this planet, we must change how we do it. It's not that we can't, but we need to be more practical. And that some of the things that have been told, that what is old will become new again. So what, we start building houses out of stone instead of um, trees? Maybe. I mean, with the amount of trees that was lost by this last hurricane, there's going to be a shortage of pine trees in South Georgia. Seriously. I mean, I saw 2/3 of big, 15, 20 acre stretches of pine trees, and 2/3 of them are gone. And the others are bent, twisted, and otherwise. So, that's a lot of bread and butter down here in South Georgia, is the forestry industry. And so it's like, so where's the lumber going to come from? You can't use these down trees. You can't get into the fields, blah, blah, blah. But to the point, though, should you go back and build a house? I mean, that wall right there is concrete up so high. You're not going to knock it over. Sorry, but you're not. Now, I've always wanted to build a small hobbit hole house up the hill, and I'm not dead yet, but I want to build it sort of like the in a way like the Flintstones, but with curves and to where there aren't any sharp corners, to where it's more fluid. And there's a lot to be said in the fluidity of things. And my house is very open right now. I mean, you could see into the kitchen over here and back here. So I can stand on one end of the room and look all the way down almost into the kitchen. And I can stand in my kitchen and look all the way through the house. So, other than the bathroom, upstairs is much the same way. The bedrooms are have doors, but it's open. There's a big loft up there. I mean, it's 20 feet straight over my head there to where the ceiling fan is. So there's a lot of openness and, versus being smug and in rooms with sides. And there's a bad feng shui with that. So in this, it comes to me that what the future is we need to be more in tune with planet Earth. We need to understand if we're going to live on top of it, that we need to change our way of thinking. And in so doing, it will change our way of life. Because if you don't have to worry about painting the house every 5 years or something, or if your roof is never ripped off in a storm, and you find out that you can build this way, and there's so much cement in my house. My friend came over the other day and he goes, "Man, it's really cool in here." And it was like 85 degrees outside. And he goes, you don't have an air conditioner. I was like, "Nope, this is just the house. The house stays this cool. It works simply because of its thermal mass, how thick it is. There's 6 inches in there. There's 8, 10 inches worth of cement back there. There's cement in the walls. And people say, well, that's really silly. Well, it is there. I do have a moisture issue sometimes, but you can correct that with humidifiers and think there's other ways to deal with it. But the fact that Mother Earth supplies us with coolness, and if we utilize those things which the ancients have been using for a long time, um, so that we should go back to that way of thinking. Now, I almost forgot this next part. Just before the light came on with my friend in the tent, I morphed into this thing, and it was sort of like it almost happened simultaneously. There was a face that appeared, and in the conversation of that in my ear, that there were beings there, and I could perceive the beings there in this vision, but I couldn't see them in a three-dimensional way. And the message was, "You're almost there. You can kind of see their outlines, Hawkeye." And I was like, "Yeah." And then a face appeared, and I was trying to, Lori, how are you? Blessing to you, Lori. So, and watching these curves and things and Pueblo style, that's not really it. I mean, there's a lot of Peruvian Inca type of stuff in there, if you will. And so as I'm watching this thing morph into this, it was like a roundish face that appeared beside the hut. It wasn't a hut. It was like a really high class hut. I mean, but it wasn't a house per se. It's hard to describe, but it wasn't shabby. There was no shabbiness about this. Okay. It was just that it was a totally different design, old but new, you know? And so, but from the side of the house where this next one would be, and it was sort of like Barney Rubble's house compared to Fred Flintstone's. I know it sounds crazy, but I haven't watched the Flintstones in years. So, but beside this house, Barney's house, was this face, and it started out as just like a being there, and then it got closer, and then it was disembodied, not scary, but it was like the face of a Peruvian. It wasn't one of the long skulled ones. It was roundish face. Their face was wider and more round, and that's about the time that the flashlight came on and kind of stunned me out of the vision, if you were, because I'd love to follow that up on that one. But I thought about the face, and I'm going to do a little bit of uh, um, it was sort of like Mayan, but not, but just in that ilk. Okay, it was along those lines. So here I am, and and I start laughing, and my friend called me today, and she says, we're going to plan on going to a powwow in a couple weeks. I hope we make it. But anyway, so she goes, I just want to tell you that when you were laughing the other night, or the other morning when I got up to go pee, she goes, you were laughing. It was almost maniacal. She goes, I thought you were literally like going crazy or something. I said, well, if you'd seen what I'd seen, and I said, but it wasn't as a maniac and scared. I was like the thrill of what was going on. That it was the laughter of like an idiot being so tickled at something that they just couldn't stop laughing. And so my friend was like, "Oh my goodness, wow, okay." And I was like, "Look, maybe I'll tell her, okay, watch this video and see if you get anything out of this." But in doing so, though, the roundish face, I was like that. It said Peruvian, kind of Inca-ish, and I was very startled, surprised by the whole thing. And like I said, now that it was early Friday morning, like 4 or 5 in the morning, Eastern Dave time. Okay, not Eastern Daylight. I'm not. I haven't changed my clock yet. Um, Probably won't again in defiance. But a lot of things came to mind, like in the present. And I was sitting out after my friend, got settled back down, and we talked for a few minutes. I couldn't settle back down because what I had just seen was like, how, what? Now you want me to go back to sleep? No, so I went outside and set up my camp, literally just feet across from the bank of this thing, which drops down like 10, 12 feet really quick. And so I set up out there with my coffee and a bowl and a cigarette, and said, okay, Spirit, show me what you got. And it was just, it never got that intense again. But the feeling, I just had to go out away from any other noise, uh, her moving in her tent or whatever, because if it did come back again. But what came to me was that it was the face, and it was like it was smiling, it was cheeky, puffed cheeks, it smiled. There was nothing malevolent or malicious in any of it. So where at first I thought, well, the architecture is strange and what's happened here, and no, what it is that um, and the number 23 kept banging me back in the back of the head, going in 2023, 23, and 23, and 23. Okay, what's in 23? But whatever, 23 and 23. Okay. So now since then, I got back, and then we went into this really heavy duty whiteout for 24 hours with the Schumann residence, which for me is just like, now that's just strange. I went and did this, and now, okay, just interesting synchronicity with that. But now, with all these energies and so forth coming in, I got to just stop and scratch my head and go, now, I can't, I've given you my 10 cents on this up to this point. But the rounded faced were that the techniques that these folks knew in ancient times are what we need to like go back to. Now, I think it's Machu Picchu. I think it's the one up at the top of the mountain down there, I think. But anyway, they've got all these terraces. Well, before they put the terraces in, there is this drainage system that's ancient, that's in the mountain, and then they built the terraces. Oh my God. It's not just terraces in the mountain. No, they've got drainage and collection points and how it purifies the water coming off the mountain. Those are the types of things that the ancients wish us to know again. They want us to go back to the old technologies and not the sticks and steel buildings per se, and that if we're going to continue to live on the planet, there are those people go, well, oh my God, what are we going to do? Well, if we change how our houses are, if we check to make sure we're out of a damn floodplain, if we check for these certain things, don't live, 30 miles from a volcano. I'm just saying, there are places you can choose. But there are good ways to use the land, to use the technologies, and a lot of these technologies, like my house, have the biggest thing that I have is the thermal mass. It's how much concrete there is. It's what helps keep my house warm. It's what helps keeps my house cold. It works both ways, and it doesn't do a thing except sit there. So there's technology we need to go back to instead of trying to figure out why build better air conditioners when the houses that we build suck and a storm can come through and knock them down. That's just dumb. Why don't we build a house that's thermally protected by itself, is nice to live in, has very little upkeep, and you can live in it for pennies a month, energy wise? We need to think of another way. And those round faced people, they're part of the key. Now, I'm going to leave it at that for now with this, because any other discussion on it, I really don't know. I'm not getting any downloads at the moment about what should or should not be, except that these are the things that will be shown to us. These are things that we can do that for the future, for the 1,000 years ahead of us of peace. Because again, that was my whole point of the journey to that place, was to drum for peace for the earth, for the beings there, for all of you, all of me, all of us. I was like the last on the list for this. And the fact that I got whatever I got, but it seemed for my 55 years of shamanism, it seems to fit. This is what our future is. These are the designs. Maybe as an engineer and as an architect, I need to start putting forth some of these new designs. I've asked people before if they wanted to help me build an earth ship here, that, we'd make out some kind of a deal. I've even offered a piece of property for a lifetime, provided you be a decent neighbor. If you want to come and build an earth sheltered home here, nobody cares. Well, that's too much work. So, what else you doing? But anyway, depends on what you want to do. Now, you can also use, it's like for me, I did a lot of work with shovel because I couldn't afford a backhoe. But to the point there nowadays, a small backhoe and a little and some work, and what took me months to do, I could do in a couple of days. But I chose, because I was so broke, I couldn't afford any of that. But to the point nowadays, it's like for a little bit of money or bartering or something, get a backhoe, do a little bit of work, and what took me years to do literally could be done in a couple of months. Earth sheltered home, very little electricity, always warm, always cool, blah, blah, blah. And sorry, no takers. It's okay. I'm just saying there are other ways. Can we find them? Do we know what they are? I know this house is a little crazy right now. Like I said, 25 years ago, when I added the second story the way I did, I didn't realize the earth was going to change like this. I mean, I didn't. And so, in retrospect, now I want to build me a cottage up on the hill, made out of in the hill, made out of the hill, with the hill. I'm like, I want to not necessarily become a caveman, but I realize that being up 2 stories might not be the best thing anymore because of all these planetary changes. So, but hindsight is 2020. However, I've missed 2 tornadoes. Don't brag, Dave. But listen, thank you for hanging out, Breaking Dawn, Lori. Um, yes, blessings back, Lori, Dawn. Absolutely. Oh my God. Think. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, so, but that's it up to now. But the number 23, they keep saying 23. Now I don't know what. Now let me add this little addendum since you all are here, and I said this earlier in an earlier video today, but I want to bring this up right now. There are many people who are saying that that whiteout thing we had on Saturday with the Schumann resonance was the event. And I just want to say, folks, don't get lulled into that kind of thing. It is just part of the event. It was a big sign. It was a huge milestone in the progression of things that make the event the event. But it wasn't the event. That's just part of it. That got people's attention. There's more coming, folks. But it's nothing to be afraid of. It's to, in fact, as I've said before, they keep telling me, get on your inner tube, get on your life raft, just hang on, don't freak out. If it's a big wave, just ride that sucker. If it's got a bad channel on the other side, just hang on. Things will level out. And there's been a lot of other things about 23. And as I'm sitting here thinking about it, Simon Parks, if any of you listen to the Simon Parks, and I've been listening to Simon for quite a while, the number 23 has been in his area of thinking along with 2019. And so there's a lot of things going on. And so also there are people who say they wish they knew the future. And with that, I want to say little, side note to you guys. Having this information and then them kind of hold a staple gun to the back of your head going, go do this, Hawkeye, tell them about this dream you have. Okay, and I don't know about just myself. But to the point though, it's that I think in my perspective through this, what they showed me before it was interrupted was that the simpler things are actually the more practical when you understand those motions. Why is really thick rock better? But if everybody thinks they got to have a 2-story mansion with a high thingy and a 2-car garage, and then they worry because it got knocked over or a storm came or whatever. See, we have to change our way of thought. We have to understand we're on a planet that can be volatile at times, and we should pay attention. If we wish to go on to the future, we need to pay attention. These huge buildings use massive amounts of energy. We need to pay attention. It cost me $40 a month for my electricity. Last month was 45. I ran the little heater a little bit. $45 a month, and I thought that was high. There are other, and I pay a higher rate because I use less electricity. And because I don't use enough, I actually pay more per kilowatt hour than someone who uses over 1,000 kilowatt hours. They get a price break because they're using more. I would go off grid, but it's just not practical for me. Not yet. But to the point, when the electricity goes off, I got batteries, I got candles, I got a bucket to throw down my well. I've got 2 1,000-gallon tanks filled with water. I'm ready. I'm ready. I got a garden started there, which these last bits of seeds, none of them came up. Damn it! I got to plant again tomorrow. And something killed my potatoes in the last couple of days, and that's not making me happy neither. So here we go round and round with the bugs again. But I'm not giving up. So, but for now, I never did light the cigarette. So proud of me. I know. I've been smoking this pack for the last 2 days, and this is actually the third day. So, but anyway, it is sort of the beginning. Yep, I was reading back up there to see your. Yep, Lori, I'm glad you're back as well. Yep, and whoever's been missing, prayers to all of you. So continue journeys, my friends. Stay open to what's open to the universe out there. Like I said, I know this was a vision of sorts because of how it appeared, how I described it. It just simply wasn't an LSD trip, but at the same time, they're sitting here saying that I'll understand a little more as I process some of this. A lot of different energies around at the moment, and that sometimes it takes a week for the understanding to come through on some things, but it fits with the rest of the plan, if you will, that for the next 1,000 years we must change who we are now, and use these simple techniques that are thousands of years old. It's like it's not stupid, and let's use the new technology we have now to our utmost advantage, along with all the natural things. It's not a big deal, but it is a big deal because we have to change everybody's opinion of what is necessary versus what is practical. So there's a house down the road from me, about a mile and a half, 2.5 stories, 3 kids. The kids are gone. There's only the parents there, and they've got to keep up this big 2.5 story house. 4 bedrooms, all the kids are gone. They're stuck with the house, and they're still paying. And now they're 55 years old, still paying for a house when there's nobody there but them and the wife. And kind of sort of what happened with me, but not anywhere near it. So what you think you need now and what you actually need later on is just like, so they build bigger, build better. Oh my God, how many square feet? When actually that isn't really practical, or we should use more practical means to do so. Anyway, that's the message I got. And 2023 was just slapped at me big time. And the round faces of the Peruvian type, and I want to say Mayan, but I want to, before I go into that much, I'm going to study some facial patterns, and I will come back and do an update with that as far as to whom or who I think the round face was, and it was very clear until that light got turned on and blinded me. But anyway, thank you, my friends. Thank you, thank you. Ending prayer as always. I continue to pray, even when I'm on the river for you folks. I pray and try to send energy to the cosmos. I take your prayers with me to the river and send them in. And the peace that you all have shared with me, I try and my best to share with the planet through the use of the rivers and the journey on the river, through the frequency of the river and the fact that the river I went to has a high frequency because of the flint and the different types of stone. And so know that I'm always praying for us, for you, for the next guy. The continued prayer is for peace upon the earth, and earth be at peace. Peace upon the earth be at peace. Beings upon the earth be at peace. Earth be at peace with the beings upon the earth. Continued prayer. That's my continued drum song. That is what I wish for all of us, for the planet and the universe. So I love you all. Thank you. Cosmic hugs from down here. And I continue to pray that you, your friends, your family will continue to accept and receive the healings from the universe. I continue to pray that you and your friends, your family, your relations, and all of your relatives will continue to receive and accept these blessings, the healing, the knowledge, and the wisdom from the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive and share these simple blessings. So, thank you, thank you, thank you. Cosmic hugs from here. Have a blessed week. Until next time, I am your humble servant, Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I will continue to drum and pray for the planet and for all of us. So thank you, thank you, thank you for now. And till next time, TTFN, ta ta for now. Oh, Michelle, sorry, I'm leaving. You'll have to catch that last part. Blessings to you, Michelle. Um, yes, uh, oh, back threefold to you as well, Michelle, and all of you. Thank you. I can tell that your prayers are with me. And when I was on the river, I was just, having thoughts like, Wonder how I haven't done a video in a couple days. Wonder how everybody's going to be. And I was just having these really nice, pleasant thoughts, and it was almost like you guys were really there with me. So, thank you for. I'm going to try to share these pictures. So, give me a couple of days, and I'll try to. If not, I'll put them up on my Facebook and maybe do a story about it on my Facebook, since YouTube's not trying to. You've been here all along. Okay, I misread it. I don't have my glasses on. I lost my good reading glasses somewhere over the last few days. So it's probably packed in one of my backpacks I haven't reopened yet. So, but blessings, my friend, and stay calm during all this mess. And please, when they try to pull at your heartstrings, give a prayer where it's needed, but also remember they're trying to steal all your energy. So stay out of that. Keep with your core energy. I repeat myself in that, but it's very necessary. So thank you, Michelle, Lori, and everybody. Breaking Dawn, I love you too. All of you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So TTFN, Cosmic Hugs from South Georgia. Till next time, my friends. Adios. Bye bye.